Hello everyone and welcome back to Amity Bloom. My name is Nazi. Thank you for joining me again today. I am very excited to announce that I finished another batch, another collection. This time I decided to go with a completely different style that you've seen before, very similar to the vintage tag notebook journals that I created a while back. I decided to stick to the same technique of textiles, collaging, that sort of thing, but into a different color scheme with more pastel colors, less dark, vivid, bright fabric and more subdued pastel, pinks, mitts, whites, those kind of colors. So I created 6 journals this time and in the pocket size. I know, for all of you pocket size lovers, this was my favorite size for a long time. This is definitely one of my comfort sizes. The two most popular sizes when talking about traveler's notebooks is the standard and pocket size. The pocket size will fit, for those of you who do not know, a field note size traveler's notebook. So the journal, let's take this one, will fit perfectly in here. So as you can see, the theme was pastel and flowers. Something really fun about these journals as well is that I actually used real ephemera. I scan them and I use them to make pockets. So this is some old ephemera that I am fortunate enough to have found through estate sales, antique stores, and you will see a lot of this ephemera scanned and used in the journal. And what I loved is that I went to a local estate sale and I got a lot of ephemera from Atlanta. All my Georgia peeps out there, I've got some local ephemera for you. And then I also used some images through this book, the Alice and Jerry books. Amazing books for like pastel vintage pictures. Just really, really beautiful. When I scored this at a library sale, I almost freaked out. So without further ado, let me go ahead and show you a flip through. This cover was my main inspiration for the color scheme of the journal. Beautiful embroidered fabric in different tones of blues. In that first pocket, I made a fabric card that also works as a writing spot on the back. Tuck it into that gorgeous lace. In the front interior pocket, I included a vintage library card. For that pocket, I used an ephemera piece from a digital kit that I created on my Etsy shop. It's those little touches that make your journals even more personal. In that text spot, I created a wallpaper pocket out of some vintage wallpaper that I found. On this page, it's one of my signature fabric flip outs. And instead of a plain piece of fabric, I decided to collage various textiles, as always, in different shades of blue. That pocket was made from an old, I think from the 1900s, a time log book where people that worked in the factories would write down how many hours they worked. Here's one of my signature tiny fabric flip outs, and then that is stitched onto a paper flip out. So I thought that was a cool way to put multiple tip outs in one page. On this page, I created a lace tuck spot where I put a vintage recipe card, and get ready, it flips out as well. And there's some beautiful lace, vintage lace, and some really old embroidered fabric that I found from an antique store. An embroidered hanky as a pocket. Can't wait for the person that owns it to feel its embossing. And in the pocket is a scanned image of a vintage report card set that I found from an estate sale local to the Atlanta area. On this page, I created another pocket made out of some dictionary paper and some sewing paper. And in the pocket are some of the images that I scanned from the Alice and Jerry books. They just make me so happy, all of the bright, vivid pastel colors. I think it all goes well. Some beautiful lace tabs, and in the very back is a fabric pocket with an embroidered tag. All of the embroidery that you see on the cards was all handmade by me, which I'm very proud of since I am a beginner, absolute beginner. And I must thank Jibbid for inspiring me to branch out and try needlework. Her journals usually have some type of embroidery and it's so inspirational. For this journal, the color scheme was mint, and I've never tried this color scheme out, but I was so excited that I did. I think the layering and the collaging of all the tones of mint and blue really went well together. On that page, I had an idea of gathering different types of laces of different colors and collaging them together to form a tuck spot, which I think looks so beautiful. In that pocket, it's an old scanned image of a sour cream cake recipe that I found. The true copy is actually falling apart, so the best thing to do was to scan it. And now to my favorite page out of the whole book, a collaged fabric flip out. You guys, I'm obsessed and I'm hooked. I can't explain how happy I am when I'm collaging different fabrics and turning them into a work of art. Those are the types of things that I want to teach in my classes, how I combine the colors, how I create my collages. Because it's honestly, it's a world of possibilities what you can create with it. Each journal as well comes with its own unique embroidered tag, specified to the color scheme of the journal. It was so much fun and also challenging at the same time. Another one of my flip outs that serve as writing space and a pocket. Moving on to the next journal, I wanted to create another fabric cover that was a little bit darker than the rest for those of you who do not like bright pastel colors. Here is one of my fabric hidden pockets, pockets that I collage fabric but are secretly pockets that are hidden. And there's an image from the Alice and Jerry books, just to brighten everything up. A collaged fabric tuck spot, and I've included a vintage recipe for peach pie. Let me know for the person that purchases the journal how it turns out. Here's another collage pocket, and in it is a scanned image of an old recipe. Here's another sewing paper pocket, and this is the scanned report card. As you can see, it's from DeKalb County from 1953. I think it was at this flea market / antique store where I found it, and I was so excited. Here's my mom's hand saying hi. She's pointing out the embroidered tag. My mother, she actually did embroidery and needlework when she was a kid, but she wanted to be outside where the boys were playing. So she recently told me, like, Nazi, why didn't you tell me you were interested in all this stuff? I could have taught you years ago. And I'm like, I didn't know. So there's a funny little story. I could have been an expert on sewing and needlework years ago. The next journal in the series is this all-white cover with that beautiful cross-stitch design. I can't take credit for that. That was on this vintage linen that I had. And opening it up, you can see that the color scheme that I went for was pastel pinks, whites, creams. I wanted it to be as feminine as possible. Quite recently, I managed to get my hands on some beautiful vintage French lace. So I used a bit of that throughout the journal. It's the lace that's not white, but it's a cream color. It's beautiful and feels amazing to touch. There's another one of my sewing paper pockets, and then another one of the signature little embroidered tags. It's so squishy. I can't wait for you guys to feel it. I wanted to create a pocket that was more vintage and fragile looking, so I took some of that French lace that I mentioned and layered it on with some cheesecloth, and it made for the perfect pocket. Here on that page is some vintage ephemera where I have tucked in an image from the Alice and Jerry books. Here is another collaged fabric flip out, sticking to the same color scheme, added a little button. Here is another one of those fabric pockets, but this time with script. And included inside is a sample of a scanned vintage ephemera. I want it to feel as authentic as possible, which is why I am very adamant on using a ton of different textiles true to the time period, as well as the ephemera either scanned or copied. But I try to keep with the theme, and I try to use vintage items when possible, just to make it more unique and more special. This fabric pocket was actually gifted to me, the fabric by Mitts. Hello, Mitts. I am actually planning on filming a tutorial as to how I create my fabric pockets, so let me know if you guys would be interested. The next cover, the color scheme was pinks, creams, and whites. As you can see, this fabric I actually used on my vintage tag notebook journals as well. On this page, I created what I like to call a floating pocket, and what that means is I take a piece of paper. In this case, I used a vintage book page, and I stitched on one of my fabric pockets, and then you can include whatever you'd like. I included a vintage wallpaper tuck spot and a wallpaper receipt, and it kind of floats around in your journal, and you can place it wherever you want with a paper clip. That's why it's called a floating pocket. It's not permanently stitched to a page. Here is the embroidered tag for this journal. I added a little bit of grass on the bottom. And last but not least is the quilt journal, as I like to call it. I used a very old piece of a vintage quilt, and then on the cover I collaged different laces and textiles together. The color scheme I absolutely adored of this journal. As you can see, that beautiful fabric card. I wanted it to feel as if it was grandmother's notebook, filled with recipes, pictures, stories. Included on that paper clip, I have an image of the Alice and Jerry books of some chickens, a goose, and a horse. I always have to include my animals in there somehow. And also a copy of the report card. Like I mentioned, I wanted the book to feel as if it was grandmother's just scrapbook, keeping memories of her children's report cards, pictures. That was kind of the theme that I wanted to go with all of the journals. A memory book filled with old family recipes, size charts where Grandma would keep note of the family's sizes and measurements so that she can make clothes for them. A sample of Grandma's quilt, collaging different types of fabrics that she once owned. On this page, I used another sample of the quilt and I made a little triangular pocket, and in it I put a vintage library card. A fabric pocket where a piece of ephemera is kept from Kirkwood School dating back to 1946. It's those simple touches that make the story of a journal come to life. So I hope that you guys enjoyed watching the flip through of the journals. I had such an amazing time creating them. I got out of my comfort zone and started practicing more needlework with embroidery. If you guys fell in love with these journals as much as I did and you're interested in purchasing, then I will leave the link to my Etsy shop below. I will update the description and the comment section when they have all sold. A lot of people have been sending me messages as to when they sell, as to if I even put them on Etsy, and I do. They just tend to go rather quickly, so I will put this video up, and in a couple hours later I will put the listings up just so that the people that are interested kind of have an idea as to what journal they would like to purchase. A couple updates for those of you who are interested. I just recently purchased a new Canon camera, so I'm very excited about that. Right now I'm in the process of learning how to use the camera just so that my classes can be as perfect as possible. I have this really unique and cool idea as to how I want to present the classes to you, which I think I have not seen before. So I'm so excited to share that with you all. I already have a list of the things that you guys want to see in the classes, and I will be sharing more of that information with you later on. I will also be creating a trailer so that you kind of see what my classes are going to be like and if you're interested in taking them or not. I am so amazed at how much this little community, this Amity Bloom family, has grown. I remember my goal when I started about a year ago was to just reach 100 subscribers, and I felt like I was on top of the world. But the amount of support that you guys have been showing me, even the negative support, has been so humbling. I get so many messages every day, both good and bad, but both of them touch my heart in a certain way. They either touch my heart and make me really, really happy, or sometimes they touch my heart and make me sad. But even if they make me sad, I still try to see the positive output on it. And that's what I think we should all do with our life. If there's something sad, something terrible that has happened to you, try to still see the positive in it. Because when you start thinking negative, only negative results will come. If I create a positive atmosphere, if I try to create my best and I stay positive no matter what, then only positivity will come out of it. So I want to say thank you to all of you. Seeing this little family grow is such a blessing for me, and it's so humbling. Thank you, truly thank you for everything that you've said, everything that you've done for me, all of your support. I am gonna get emotional. Okay, enough of the gushiness. Thank you. Can't say that enough. So yeah, so if you're interested, definitely check out the link below. I'm not currently taking any custom orders at the moment. I'm so sorry, except with my Etsy shop, my school and everything. I don't think it would be the smartest idea to take in custom orders, just because I really like to take my time on them, and I just don't want to rush anything. So that's a little update with custom orders, because I know I'm getting a lot of messages about that. But no worries, I will keep creating journals for you all. Thank you so much again for everything. And as always, I hope that your day is filled with a huge abundance, no matter where you live, no matter who you are, no matter what you believe. I hope your day is filled with an abundance of peace and love. Bye-bye.